Hello everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. You're with Simon today, and we're going to be looking at new moon in Gemini, and this is for the 3rd of June 2019. So I know that this video is coming out after the new moon has actually taken place, and I suspect on some level it's always nice to have the information available to us before the new moon or any full moon takes place. So sometimes I'm able to do that, sometimes I'm not. It just depends on where I am in terms of information that I'm gathering and information that is manifesting insight into me so that I can then share what I perceive and see regarding the astrology and the nature of the time. So that's just kind of let you know about that. Something else that I wanted to do before we jump into today's conversation is, for any of you that are interested in working with me long-term in terms of a transformation, like a personal, you want to go through a period of your life where you want to learn about your human design, you want to learn about your astrology, you want to do some transformational work, like focus in on your personal storyline for a period of time. I highly encourage you to come over to Raising Vibrations' website and check out the kind of long-term services that we offer, or participating in the Patreon Pluto membership. And I'll post a link to both of those places in the description and also the comments. And it's specifically designed, it's specifically created for those that are saying, you know what, for a period of time, I just want to focus on, getting a deeper understanding of my relationship to myself, how do my relationships work? I want to focus on myself for a bit, and so I kind of hold space to really zone in on all of the material I have, and just to kind of really create a space for an intense moment of transformation. And it doesn't have to be long. It can be a month that you want to process through, or if you want to do it over a period of 3 months, it doesn't matter, but whatever you feel comfortable with. And the reason why I'm sharing it is because it's something that is deeply passionate in myself. It's like I feel that's what drives me so much, is to really help people get super intense into understanding their psychology and their soul. And then as that kind of like gets reorganized and you get that intense hit of personal alignment and stuff, then you go on your way, and then you can navigate your way in life in some sense. So that's why I'm sharing it, because it's something that I really feel passionate about, and I think that it's good to let you know that at some point, whenever you feel that this is the right time to do it, there is availability, and I like doing that. Okay. All right. So new moon in Gemini, opening the doors of perception, and whew, man, oh man, I personally have the sun and the moon making the connection at 12 degrees today. That's landing on my north node. It's also squaring my Mars and Venus in my chart, and I have Mercury today literally conjunct my moon, and Jupiter retrograde is also on my south node and my natal Jupiter as well. So there's quite a lot of fun, cool things happening for me on this new moon in Gemini. I love this energy, and you'll probably hear it come out of me today, because you can just sense the essence of my being just kind of flowing through in this conversation, and probably also see the inner psychological dynamics of how I operate, because, well, I'm really expressing myself in a way where the energy in me is sort of vibrant and there. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way sometimes when you've got like a new moon landing on your north node. It's like, wow, that is your direction, it's illuminated. So cool stuff for me happening, and it's really given me the opportunity to tune into this energy and really give a sense of analysis that may help you, and provide you with some value during this time. And I hope that is actually the case in this sense. Okay. Before we jump into actually talking about this conversation today, and so there's been a lot of new subscribers to the channel as well, and I just wanted to, outline for those that are new to this channel that the new moon videos or new and full moon videos are a little bit different to sort of the general way in which new and full moon videos will be posted on the internet by the astrologers. And So if you're looking for like a forecast of how your life's going to be going forward, or you're looking for information about how you're going to deal with the future in some way, that's this is the time to act. This is probably not the channel or the type of new and full moon videos that you would want to watch in, because as much as those are really validating in some sense, I'm more interested in the deeper psychological empowerment of your own perception of yourself and how you then are able to interact with the world. And so these videos are more, or these videos are more designed to help you contemplate the nature of your reality, and that the astrology is an opportunity to access archetypal themes that are being activated in your life, so that when you go out into the world and you're interacting with your life, you can understand yourself better. And that's pretty much the sort of axiom of my own meaning and purpose behind doing this is, if you can get a deeper understanding of yourself, then by going into the world, you can relate to people with more confidence, with more sureness within yourself. And, on some level, you can actually manifest a reality or create a reality or interact with reality where you've got more empowerment and your relationships can be better as well. So that's why these videos have a different flavor to it. And I've been wanting to say this for quite a while, but I haven't done so, and so that's why I'm sharing this with all of you today, and also why when you do come to these videos and you're new, it's just so that you know what you're expecting. Okay, so opening the doors of perception. This fractal tree to me it's just such a beautiful way to understand the manifestation of Gemini and its relationship to Pisces and its relationship to Sagittarius, okay, as part of the mutable signs, okay? So when I show up the chart, you'll see it. But we've got Neptune in Pisces, we've got the new moon in Gemini, which is a mutable sign, Pisces a mutable sign, and Sagittarius, Jupiter, and Sag, right? Jupiter being retrograde. And they're making a T-square. Now, what does that got to do with the fractal tree that you're seeing in the picture here, and why do I use the kind of sentence structures opening the doors of perception? Well, these are the archetypes along with Virgo, which is the fourth mutable sign that makes the squares with each other. They are what really contributes to how your left and right brain work. Archetypally, okay, it's the framework for your perception of reality, and that's why when you explore things like faith or religion or ideologies or types of belief systems, that they all have an encoded archetypal structure to them that influences your perception of reality, okay? And the way that those work is that Pisces as an archetype reflects all of the 12 archetypes in itself, or all the other 11, okay? So it contains everything. And so you can actually perceive this tree / fractal line, the whole entire thing, as a Pisces manifestation, okay? The potential that exists. So let me show you this diagram here, all right? This would be perceived as the archetype of potential in this conversation, because things are arising out of nothing. That's why I also chose the white over here, because in the state of white, which technically black would be a better color because black is all the colors in one. But here you have black and white are very much the archetype of yin and yang. So I'm using this type of symbology over here of yin and yang colors because it's either masculine or it's feminine, or it's either the archetype of light or darkness. These archetypes are very, very embedded or encoded within the framework of our reality. And so the Pisces essence of something, Pisces as an archetype, reflects the totality of something in an undivided state. So there's no dualism in Pisces. And so within Pisces, like the ocean, all of the other 11 archetypes are consumed within Pisces. That's why when you explore Pisces as an archetype, what you see is everything collapsing in on itself and then becoming into a state of of unity with something, the return to source, or source itself being something that's undivided. Okay, so from the undividedness, or this feminine principle, potential can rise, potential can exist, and potential can be perceived as this masculine process, which allows for reality, or the manifestation of individual realities to exist, right? So in individual reality is represented more as a Sagittarius component and the Gemini component, whereas the totality and all the details held within the totality would be the Virgo and the Pisces axis. Okay, remember that these two polarities exist. All right. So what manifests in this fractal tree over here, out of oneness, or out of the source, are different lines of individuating experiences. And so our perception of reality and what we are when we perceive reality is a framework of individuation. And how we take in reality will be, in a sense, formed based on the arrangement of the archetypes that are held within your astrology chart. And also, if you go into human design, things like understanding the nodal environment, things like understanding the way that the nodes are configured and what you're here to see. I mean, human design very much speaks to things about fractals and people being on the right fractal. So like when you're looking at something, and this is what actually happened to me, like really, really intensely over the last 2 weeks, and not surprisingly that this was leading up to the new moon, that as I broadened my horizons to see different points of views, I was able to actually see like some profound stuff. And of course, I think it's very healthy for us to, through conversation, Gemini, through dialogue, converse our ideas so that we can be able to take in where our blind spots are, where we perceive something that through our own observation of something, we can see it, but we're also limited to a certain degree by what we're seeing. And so we need other people's points of views to, in a sense, help us see a bigger picture. And so again, we talk about the experience of the square between Gemini and Pisces and Sagittarius, right? Through communication of different beliefs or visions, more in a more kind of like mature form of Sagittarius vision, we get to see a greater aspect of totality, Pisces, right? And this is essentially what we are at the most very primordial structure of reality. We are essentially people navigating on fractals. And as we navigate on fractals, we have aspects of reality that we perceive. And so as we share those perspectives, then we get a deeper understanding of it, right? So opening the doors of perception is a Gemini function, right? And so what's also really interesting as well is that the new moon is landing on the nodal axis of Uranus. Okay, so let me switch to the chart so that everybody can have a look at the chart. Let me just get the recording program. Okay, so here you have the chart. And so the node, as in the actual axis of Uranus's node, is sitting here. It sits exactly 16 degrees. So 16 degrees, it sways between like, say, 13, 14 degrees. Gemini is the north node of Uranus, and the south node of Uranus sits over here in Sagittarius, right, between 13 and 16 degrees, right? So each planet has a node axis as well. It's not just the moon. And for those of you that are new to astrology, the nodes of the moon are these symbols here, okay? So each planet has a nodal axis as well. So the nodes of Uranus are Gemini, Sagittarius. And what's interesting is that, and not to confuse you, but Neptune itself is actually squaring the south and north node of Uranus. Okay, so what does that mean? Now let me break it down. The fractal line that you see on the pictures over here, this is how I want to translate it for you. Uranus reflects to us, well, is fractals. Uranus is fractals. That's why Uranus has in sort of mundane astrology, it is chaos or uncertainty or unpredictability or the rebel. But when you actually go deeper into understanding the Uranian energy, Uranus is actually fractals, right? And Uranus speaks to the resonance that each fractal has. So not going too far, and I know that this is stretching a little bit, so take this video very slowly. But Uranus is the fractals and how those fractals get formed based on a resonating point. And the resonating point would be Leo. So a resonating point on this fractal would be, say, for instance, that point over there, right? There, over there, that would be a resonating point, okay? And I'll explain this, so just take this in with you right now. And this is the point of the new moon in Gemini. It's diversity. That's the key word, diversity. And the acceptance of diversity while still remaining humble through a beginner's mind. So the acceptance of diversity is the truth of the new moon in Gemini, while remaining in a state of a beginner's mind, open to hearing the different perspective without judgment. Because the moment that you make judgment, right, this is all the South Node stuff here, by the way, Gemini and Capricorn make what is called an inconjunct. And this inconjunct says that Gemini and Capricorn don't see each other really well. And the reason why that is the case, what manifests from that is that if we judge something, okay, we close down the perception of what might be, and we sort of solidify it. And there are healthy reasons to making a judgment on something, and then there are extreme or immature reasons for or creating judgments on things, right? And you got to learn to find the balance between the two. And this is the ultimate axiom of what it means to be human, is to find balance in extremes, okay? So here you have the South Node of Uranus sitting in Sagittarius Gemini, and it speaks to, like I said, diversity and the acceptance of diversity. Because each of us has can only take in a sort of window of reality. We can only perceive something based on what we are capable of perceiving. And the level of which we can perceive something is like relative to the capacity for knowledge that we have on it. This is really, really, really deep, okay? Meaning that, let's say, for instance, or let's take a really, really great example, okay? Let's take technology. And let's look at a camera that was created in 2010, okay? A webcam as an example, or a camera. And when you buy a camera, one of the things that you look at, not the only thing, but one of the things you look at is the amount of megapixels or quality that the picture, the camera can take, all right? This is something that's really, a big part of how you would choose a camera. And in 2010, the quality of a camera's ability to take a picture with a resolution is different to now. We can have cameras that can record high definition, as in large like quantities of information of reality, and also slow it down to the point where you can see a bullet hitting a balloon, for instance, or any sort of object, and seeing it in slow motion break up, like the frames per second. Now, our ability to manifest those things in reality is exactly equivalent to our capacity to perceive the ability to do it. All right? And so, our ability to digest information and take it in and process it is relative to our ability or our framework of how intense our resolution is, or how refined or vast our knowledge base is. Okay, so yeah, you have this Jupiter in Sagittarius, you have this Neptune in Pisces, and you got this Gemini function here. And one of the things that, to me, at the most deepest level, is can manifest itself, and that what can awaken you in terms of your own perceptions of reality, is the ability to broaden, Gemini, your field of vision based on the ability to take everything with a beginner's mind and to explore it and to be curious about it and to ask the question. So somebody might have an opinion of something, Gemini, opinion, okay, based on their belief, Sagittarius. So yeah, you have Jupiter in Sag, it's retrograde. Here you've got Sun in Gemini, okay, and they're opposing each other. And fundamentally, like really at the bottom of it, it's talking to your capacity. So this is the chart in itself, and then I'll go deeper into more fractals, because that's what we come here for. We come here for what's the thread, what's the main line, and then how deep do you go into the fractal, Simon? That's what I'm showing you here. That's why I show this picture. So I'm oscillating consistently between creating a very thick, consistent line of thread, and then how I break that down into deeper fractals. This is again the mutable cross. Okay, how we break things down and get depth, and then come back to the surface again for it to be simplified and relatable, right? So the relatability of this chart is, how are your perceptions of reality influenced by the value structure that you have, and then how is your opinions formed based on the interaction between your values and what you consider to be value or not, and how that and then how that forms your opinions and your beliefs. And then the Cancer archetype, which is where the North Node and Mars is at the moment, sitting over here, is how does that belief and value system then give you a sense of orientation, so a sense of familiarity or a sense of security or a sense of identity as you interact with the phenomena of reality. So if you had to just observe reality without projections of your own beliefs on it, you would just see Pisces. It would just be things in existence, right? And they would be there and they had no meaning, because inherently we project the meaning onto them. And again, projection of meaning is Jupiter in Sag, Neptune in Pisces, Gemini stuff, right? Because we're saying, okay, well, this is what it means. But then from another person's perspective, they might say, well, I'm seeing the same thing, but I'm perceiving it differently. And what I'm perceiving is based on the rigidity of my need for security and value structure that I have. Rigidity implying that I'm not open to seeing more than what I'm comfortable seeing, because it may threaten a security in myself, or it might manifest a thing called cognitive dissonance, sorry. And so it also threatens something at a deeper level, like survival, Taurus. Okay, so I'm not willing to be open to this perception. And I promise you, like, if you spend a little bit of time, like even a week, just wrestling with how you perceive things and how you form ideologies or perspectives around, or defenses around your opinions or views based on a deeper structure of vulnerability that may be holding you in that space, or a feeling of not wanting to threaten what you feel safe under, vulnerability again, and how that also is alignment with your values or not. If you contemplate a little bit of your views and ask yourself that question, like, do I believe this thing because it in alignment with my values, and these values that I have validates my sense of security, and so therefore I'm not going to really be open to another person's point of view. And so in that sense, close down their perception, and not saying it's the truth, but potentially miss out on seeing an aspect of reality that may upgrade or increase your exposure, camera words, right? Because think about it, when you take a picture of something, you're using exposure. The camera is capturing an aspect of reality, and the degree of quality of that camera will reflect it in the megapixels. And the megapixels are a reflection of our own capacity to digest the subtle nuances, or the building blocks of what reality is. And so this is again why it's opening the doors of perception. Here is a potential to open the doors of perception, to take in fabric of reality or blocks of reality that may have not been opened to because of its threatening quality, as an example. Okay, that's one thread that I want to bring across to this. And again, coming back to the Gemini function, and again the squares to Neptune, sometimes the focus, right? And so this is where like if you've got Mercury in the 12th house, or Mercury conjunct Neptune, or you're having Neptune transiting your natal Mercury or squaring your natal Mercury, or you have Mercury in Pisces, different types of combinations. How many of you struggle to formulate, construct, or put things into linear form, okay? And the answer is probably going to be 99% none of you, because you're taking a fluid archetype like Neptune that wants to dissolve everything, and you're talking about Gemini that wants to not categorize, but it wants to gather information and put things into, along with its connection to Virgo, put things into place so that you can then identify it mentally. And so you can struggle with that, and you may even think that there's something wrong with you. So I highly encourage you that if you've got something like those types of symbols, to give yourself a break and give yourself more of an opportunity to see abstractness than things that are in form, you know. So the square between Neptune and the Sun and Mercury can suggest and indicate a time of being too fluid and being confused and being lost. And so that's where you can see the polarity existing with Virgo, and Virgo is not in with planets over here, but we can get lost in so much information that we don't know how to identify. We don't know how to merge with what is correct for us, or what is the thing to believe, or is it real, is it not real, I think is really what I'm getting to. And that can be very challenging because it dissolves the meaning in that sense. So it's necessary for us to construct a value or a vision, Jupiter in Sagittarius, that allows us to take in reality in a way that not only nourishes our capacity and necessity for growth and expansion, but also for us to have an orientation. And that's the thing with Jupiter, it's orientation. Sagittarius, it's an orientation to the phenomena of reality, which is why in this conversation, I'm literally embodying the archetype to show you what the archetypes are like in the astrology by going, this is my perception of how I do this astrology, and it's different from, say, for instance, another forecast, but that doesn't mean that that forecast and my forecast are wrong. It just means that the way that we're looking at astrology as a tool has different value structures. And so that's what Uranus is speaking about in Taurus, and that's what Venus is speaking about in Taurus as well, is that we're all having this reshuffling in our lives right now, and the reshuffling is taking place at a level where we're looking at what we value, Taurus, what we vision, Sagittarius, and how that gives us meaning to things or not. And so we're kind of like connecting that, and that's what the Mars on the North Node suggests to me, is the potential for experiences to reshape our sense of identity and home and community and connection. And we're clearing out what is confusing and not real for us or meaningful to us, and connecting to things that seem to be, bonding us to the right value, or to the value that we may feel is correct for us. And one of the things that is important as we navigate through this shift in values and shift in alignment with what is our field of vision and what we perceive reality to be, is opening up to the perception of seeing different things around us and allowing those different aspects of reality to also maybe potentially transmute in us what is available for us over there, so that we don't become closed-minded and too rigid. And we learned that when we're closed-minded and too rigid, we're not seeing reality, but then the polarity of it is being too overly open and getting lost in the ocean, ultimately. And I think that that's where we are at the moment, trying to navigate this axis of too much exposure, too much overloaded information and getting lost, and then being too rigid and being too closed down, and kind of finding the polarity point, or the middle section over there in that sense. So I hope that on some level provides you guys with a contemplative thought process for the week, until we do another video, which we'll be doing. Me and Jen will be talking about a super cool, fun subject soon, which we're really excited to provide for you guys. So that's how I'm going to end off today's conversation, is with those types of thoughts, questioning, or not questioning in a negative sense of skepticism, but more of curiosity and openness being your mantra, and the potential to have to upgrade your field of vision through listening and taking in, and then in a sense asking yourself, do you see potential meaning in the other? Do you see potential meaning in the other person's personality, perception? And does that grow you and expand you to see things further than what you have felt comfortable with? And so broadening your horizons. Okay? All right, peeps, thanks very much for listening. I really hope that you have a really, really good day. Don't forget, for those of you that are interested in doing things like long-term work or intense transformational processes, I will post the links in the comments and also in the description below to the Patreon or to working with us in a couple of sessions. And I'd love to hear what you have to say, by the way. So please write in the comments below, and share with me your own experiences of this new moon for yourself, and also what you think about what I've shared. That's always something that's amazing, and another way to embody the archetypes. It's always good to have other people's views and sense of identities as well. So please do that. I like reading it. Okay. All right, guys. Have a wonderful day, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.